another video, and in this one we're looking at a guitar that is very different from the other guitars in my collection. If you watched my 2022 collection video, you would have seen this guitar already, but just in case you haven't seen it yet, we're going to be taking a look at the Epiphone JJN Nichols Old Glory. So that is right, I actually own a Les Paul, which, if anybody is familiar with me personally or has watched this channel for long enough, y'all know that I probably am one of the biggest critics of Gibson style guitars and pretty much anything from the Big G brand. That being said, I am actually a fan of what Epiphone has been offering lately. It feels as if they're offering better value for the money in general. I mean, you get better bang for your buck on a lot of their offerings, especially in that upper tier. Would I say that it's, as high quality as Gibson? Maybe not. It kind of depends, because Gibson's QC department has been so lackluster in the past few years. But with Epiphone, they're usually pretty consistent with everything that they've been producing, and this guitar is no different. So what is this guitar? I mean, visually it takes cues from a Les Paul Custom, but obviously the pickup combo, or well, single pickup, is more indicative of a Les Paul Jr. style guitar. So effectively what it is yes, it is a Les Paul Custom style body, full thickness, double bound, with a carved top. I believe the body is mahogany and the top is also just carved mahogany. It's not a maple cap or anything like that. The neck is mahogany as well, and you have a beautifully dark piece of ebony, big block inlays, nut, Grover tuners, and on the back as well there's this really interesting sort of I don't even really know what to call it, but the back of the headstock is white. It looks really classy, and obviously the artist signature at the top. It's very understated, it's very, it's not up on the front. It's not, blatantly advertised. This is a JJN Nichols signature guitar, even though it's very quite obviously his sort of preferred configuration. I believe it's a 50s neck, 50s style neck, and it's just so incredibly thick and chunky compared to all of the other guitars that I own. Yeah, 1950s style rounded C. So C profile, big, thick, chunky neck. I wouldn't necessarily say baseball bat-like, but it's definitely the thickest that I've played in quite some time, especially compared to all of my headless guitars. Some of those necks are very thin, and you kind of get this kind of clamping feeling with your hand. Not so with this. It very much keeps you rounded off because the neck is so thick. Nickel frets, again, those big block inlays. As a personal aesthetic choice, they went with only having the inlays up to the 15th fret, which personally wouldn't have been what I would go for, but that's because I'm not great at lead playing, so I definitely need those fret markers higher up if I do play any lead, just to keep me on track, if you will. So that's kind of it aesthetically. I mean, big flat back, no contours or anything like that. Seymour Duncan P90 pickup, and then a single volume and single tone. And the original came with a nameplate that said Blues Power, but I picked this up used, so it's been clear to me that it's been modified in some aspects. So let me get into those modifications. So the way I happened upon this guitar is I was in my local guitar center, just picking up a pack of strings, but I was feeling impulsive, as I often do sometimes, and just was perusing through their used section, and I saw this guitar, but it did not look like this originally. When I bought it, it had this white Epiphone, white Les Paul Jr. pickguard attached to it, and it didn't look great because obviously the Les Paul Juniors have flat tops, so the pickguard was horribly warped to the body. It's since kind of flattened back out, but it was warped to the body. It didn't look super good. So I took it off and yeah, just kind of put it back in its original state. Other than that, I removed the tone knob just for the sake of the fact of keeping it out of my way. Because when I'm playing, if I accidentally bump it and roll it off, that's kind of an issue. So rather than just removing it, which I intend to do at some point, I decided to just remove the knob for now as kind of a temporary fix, just to keep it sort of as low profile as possible until I inevitably probably remove it, either just by putting a plastic cap over the hole or maybe putting in like a kill switch or something fun like that. Other than that, when I bought it, the original nameplate was not included. The Blues Power was not included. So I had my own custom plate made for me, and it says lightly toasted, because I'm not a blues guy, so I don't really subscribe to Blues Power, but you know, I think you know, lightly toasted is the way that I live my life, certainly, and anybody that knows me personally knows what that means, but I probably won't explain that in this video. Other than that, the Seymour Duncan P90 is absolutely ferocious sounding. These did come stock with the Seymour Duncan P90s, which I think is a really cool offering from Epiphone, just to have that sort of like upper end or like higher end sort of feature. And understandably, it's a single pickup guitar, so you know, artists can generally kind of splurge on pickups if there's only one. I know that that was kind of the case with the LTD NW44s, the Neil Westfall guitars that came with bare knuckle pickups, or a bare knuckle pickup in the bridge, you know, because they could splurge a little bit because there's only one pickup. Granted, those guitars are not as affordable as they were now. I think they originally started selling for like $8.99, $9.99. That was like $1,500 bucks. Anyway, besides the point, inflation, thanks. Other than that, the only other thing that has been changed on this guitar, to the best of my knowledge, is that I don't believe that this bridge is stock, because this is just a traditional wraparound tailpiece. I believe that these originally came with the sort of updated, sort of compensated ones with the sort of ridges that imitate bridge saddles set for the intonation. This one does not have those, and it doesn't also have any adjustment screws on this side of the bridge to like push the tailpiece in and out. So whoever owned this before probably swapped that out. Personally, I don't know why. I don't know if it's better or worse. Again, I don't really play Les Pauls, but in any case, that is the general specifications of this instrument, and yeah, I guess we'll get into what I like and what I don't like and other stuff. Yeah. So things that I like about this, first and foremost, the electronics are really simple. It's just a plug in and play kind of guitar. I mean, I'm sure that Jared James Nichols uses his volume and his tone knob a lot because that's like a very bluesy thing to do, just to sort of shape your tone, especially when you have a single pickup. Me personally, I'm not going to bother with that. I mean, the fact that I leave a volume knob on my guitars, period, it's kind of just for show more than anything functional, because most of the time when I am on stage or anything like that, I am usually keeping the guitar on 10 and I just roll off the volume either with a volume pedal or just mute entirely using a tuner or something like that. So I keep everything on 10 all the time, super easy, super simple, don't gotta think about accidentally switching pickups when I'm not intending to or anything like that. It's just simple, 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 straight to the point. Other than that, this guitar is just very fun to play, and it's surprisingly easy. I mean, I was kind of concerned at first that like the neck was going to be super uncomfortable because of how thick it was, but after just like, you know, picking it up in the store and noodling on it for 5 or 10 minutes, I was like, yeah, this is a really, really fun, nice playing guitar. Especially because lately I don't really play a lot of lead stuff. I mostly play rhythm in my band, so I don't necessarily need to be shredding all about the fretboard. And so it's just nice to have a bit more of a, you know, sort of thicker neck, just to have a bit of a nicer grip on it, and you don't have to worry about kind of, again, this kind of feeling with your hands if you're playing like bar chords for, 4 minutes at a time. I know that sounds weird, but in any case, sometimes my wrist hurts. This guitar makes sure that my wrist doesn't hurt, because the neck is nice and chunky and great for playing chords. Other than that, I really dig the Grover tuners. They're pretty damn reliable, and I have not had too many issues with tuning stability on this guitar. Granted, I'm having more issues with this guitar than, say, my headless guitars, but that's probably just the intrinsic nature of headless versus normal guitars, is that headless guitars are a little bit more stable, at least in my opinion and with my experience. Now, for some of the things that I don't really care for, again, like I mentioned earlier, having these fret markers absent past the 15th fret is a weird kind of choice to me, and again, it's Jared James Nichols' guitar. It was his call to make that choice, whether it be functional or aesthetic. That's all him. But that being said, me personally, it's not necessarily my favorite. Does it make this a bad guitar? Absolutely not. This guitar is wonderful, but if I were more lead focused with my playing, that might be something that would be a bit more difficult to adjust to. Notwithstanding the fact that also, in addition to not having the block inlays on anything past the 15th fret, you also don't have any fret markers on this side of the neck. So if you're soloing anywhere past the 15th fret, you better make sure that you're accurate, because you don't have any dots, you don't have any blocks, you don't have anything to keep you in line. And other than that, really my only complaint, which is gonna sound kind of stupid given what this guitar is it is very, very heavy. So it is not necessarily the easiest guitar to throw around on stage. Especially if you're like me and I move around a lot, I like to be very active on stage, and that's just kind of how my stage presence has always been. That being said, it's what is it, Newton's third law? Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So if I swing the guitar out in front of me to do something fun on stage, or big flashy, he's chucking his guitar and then he's going to come back and he's going to keep playing. Well, I've done that a couple times, and I only say a couple because with this guitar, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. I actually got bruised on my hip because the lower bout of the guitar, when it was swinging down, hit me right in the bone, and so that didn't feel too nice. Yeah, other than that, this guitar is great. I've even not had too many issues with the scale length. I thought like the shorter scale length was going to be annoying, but I haven't had any issues with that. And overall, it's just a great guitar. And now I haven't really talked too much about fit and finish, but essentially fit is all good. Craftsmanship is really well done. Finish, no comment, because I bought this used, so understandably when I bought it, it was already marked up pretty decently. And there's some scratches on the back, presumably from belt buckle, buckle rash, and obviously a lot of pick scratches up top, and all that stuff. So I can't necessarily comment on what one of these would look like from the factory, just because of the nature of how I bought it, but granted, they have been since discontinued. So if you find one in this kind of condition, then I would recommend you jump on it, because it's a great guitar. They're super solid and fun to beat around, but also keep in mind they might beat you right back. Alright y'all, so that has been my review of the Epiphone Jared James Nichols signature guitar, the Old Glory. I know nowadays they have the Gold Glory, which is similar in configuration and specifications. It's just gold. So if you want something a little less ostentatious, maybe try and find one of these used. But if you want to go big and go loud, there's always the gold version, which is more readily available, I would say. But other than that, guys, yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this review of this guitar. And if you have, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Have a wonderful day.